Hello, my name is Mekel Rogers, and I marched in Carolina Crown its first year in 1990. I marched a two-valve Flugelhorn pitched in G.
And I'm Keith Miller, also March 1990. I was in the Euphonium line, the first Euphonium line, one of three Euphoniums that year.
But in 1988 was the first night beat show, and I really fell in love with what drum corps was. And then all of a sudden I found out that there was a drum corps getting started in Charlotte, and I thought, well, hey, let's go for it. Why not?
We started off fairly big, actually, and then attrition through the camps, and there was just no replacement. And again, there was no name, Carolina Crown had no name, so it couldn't go out and recruit necessarily once attrition started, when kids started falling out. So we started close. We had a 50-member horn line, 55-member horn line at the first camp, something like that. And it whittled and whittled and whittled until we were the 30 that took the field and went on tour. So I think that attrition was probably what nobody really anticipated, that people would be dropping out, because it was not expensive then to march Crown. But
the problem was that they had to declare what class we would be in before all that happened. And so we ended up being a 61-member corps in what was then called open class. It's now then became Division I. Now it's world class. So we were a 61-member corps going up against Star, the cadets, So that was very tricky. The first year was all about survival. It was about getting a corps on the field. The fact that we had 61 people go on the field and march in Rich Stadium in Buffalo at the end of the season was a triumph. Because we did two parades. We did one at the beginning of the season, early July, like July 4th, because it was the July 4th parade.
That was our very first performance.
Yeah, it was our first performance in uniform, and it also was in Atlanta. And it was, what we did was we did the parade, the July 4th parade, and then we went over to downtown Atlanta.
To Underground.
To the Underground to do a rally to bring the 1996 Olympics to Atlanta. And so that was kind of cool to be a part of that, because this was 6 years prior to that, so they were still working on the bid. And I just remember playing for that little event. And then, of course, the other parade was the Buffalo.
Yeah, it was Buffalo
parade.
And ironically, because I think July 4th was when we pulled up, Spirit was there, of course, and Star was there. I mean, that Star was the very first corps we ever came across, both at that parade and our first competition.
Yeah.
Which is intimidating enough as it is. But I do remember Buffalo because our 61-member corps was probably the biggest corps in the entire parade. And I mean, because it was all the cadet corps and things. Back then, at least in '90, there was tons and tons of small corps out there, regional corps, and they were
French corps.
Yeah, they were
all girl corps. Just a lot of different variety.
Yeah, but I remember them all out there getting ready for that parade, and we literally were the biggest horn line out there. So when we got into ARC and started playing, we got a crowd, and I don't think that had ever happened to us in a corps lot, obviously, that entire year. So when that happened, I think that was the most fun horn arc we ever had.
That was a fun.
That was the first time you'd ever see 30 horn line members bending back like the Madison Scouts for chord progressions and stuff like that. We broke 60 by the end of the year, and that was a triumph for us. There's nothing really to speak of there, right? But we were the first, and we're the only ones that could say that. But I think, now that we're 26 years after the fact, which blows my mind to think about anyway, it's interesting to me because each corps, each year, kind of makes me prouder and prouder to have been a part of 90. 90 becomes that much more special to me with every year that goes by with Crown, no matter what that placement is. Of course, seeing them win the title, interesting enough, the title was won on my 40th birthday, so you all have me to thank for that. August 10th of 2000, whatever the year that was,
2013. You were in Florida, right?
I was in Disney World.
He was in Disney World, and I was on the phone with him, because I knew he was in Florida, and I was in North Carolina where I live, and we were watching the broadcast over the internet. And I called Keith at whatever hour it was when they finally announced the scores. I'm like, can you believe this? He's like, no, I can't believe it. It was a good moment.
Yeah,
it was really
cool.
It was really good.
Yeah.
So I just want the 2013 people to know that when you got that title, you had 61 old people really tearing up for you.
Yeah, crying their damn eyes out is what we were doing. Yeah. You know, my perspective is probably different than our perspective, excuse me.
No,
we're in
no,
the same
go ahead.
boat, as we were the least competitive, smallest corps, and that was the only year we marched. So my advice really is just enjoy it while you're there. I don't have any regrets for that being my only year. Sure, do I think about, boy, I'd love to be out on that field. I was still eligible in 95 when they made the first finals, and sure, I'm sitting there thinking, God, it'd be so incredible to be on that field. But I to say it's a regret, no, because I think a part of me was on the field with them anyway. So when you are on that field, just take advantage of it, soak it all in. I mean, I don't remember how many shows we actually did. I think 18 to 20 shows is probably what we did. And 33rd place, Music Man, barely broke 60 toward the end of the season. But I'll say one thing for that corps is that we soaked it all up, and we didn't take anything, we didn't take a time out on that field for granted at all.
The distance that we covered that first year was amazing in terms of everybody was learning. Everybody was learning. Every single kid, every single staff member. The staff was learning how to be staff. You know, we were learning how to be, corps marchers. We were learning how to build an identity. And personally, I love to start things. I love being somebody who starts things. I started Weddington Middle School, where I teach. I was the first band director there. I've been teaching there now for 22 years. I started a youth orchestra in Union County. I started a KK Psi chapter at Appalachian State. I love being somebody who starts things and has something to give that other people can build upon. And just the fact that, it was 1 year for us, but we were there every rehearsal, every event, and grew as people because of it, and enjoy seeing what has grown from the seeds that were sown at that time, because it makes us proud. Not in an egotistical way. It just makes us proud to know that what was started by those 61 people who had absolutely no reason to dream of any type of glory or anything like that, were able to go through those entire motions of going through that year and building something that could last and has lasted. And it's a remarkable story, and it's a tribute to everybody that's marched in Crown ever since. And we were very privileged and honored to be there at the beginning.
Well said. Made a brother along the way too.